Well, hi, hello, and welcome to the hidden cost of DevSecOps, how to secure without killing productivity. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by JFrog and their featured guest Accenture and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, a future B2B company, and I am so excited that I get to be your moderator for this conversation, and this is going to be a fun one. Today, we are taking a deep dive into some of the biggest challenges facing you and your team today when it comes to balancing speed with security, how to avoid developer burnout, but also keep up with the evolving threat landscape. I'm guessing that this is all top of mind for most of you in the audience today. So get excited because we have a whole crew of experts and thought leaders here with us who are going to help us answer some of our burning DevSecOps questions and explore how we can infuse security into a developer's day, but without bogging them down and burning them out. So we're going to talk about which activities are taking the most developer time. We're going to look at how to eliminate context switching and prioritize developer effort. I think that's a huge thing. And most importantly, how to automate security tasks and to return time back to the developers through those automations. I cannot wait to get started. We've got a lot to cover here. I'm going to get our expert presenters on out here with me in just a moment, but I want to walk you through a few housekeeping things to help you get the most out of our discussion here together today. So we're going to start out with a little tour of your console, and I'd like to begin with the questions window because we have all of these wonderful speakers here with us and they want to hear from you. As we go through our conversation today, we want your questions, we want your comments, we want all your ideas. So please do post in that questions window. In fact, you can give a little test run right now. I see you, Rakesh and Gilbert and Tony and Richard and Soham and Paul, Corey, we got Ali, we got Sean, we got a whole awesome crew. Keep those highs and hellos coming in. Let me know how your day is going. I want to hear from you. And then keep those questions coming throughout. Now that questions window is also going to be the best place to reach out to us if you do have any technical issues that come up in the session today. I do want to tell you that a browser refresh is going to clear out most of the usual tech gremlins. That browser refresh, that is your magic button. But if that doesn't work for you, then you can post in that questions window and let us know, and our team will be there to help you out. All right, so we started out with the questions window. Let's take a quick hop over to the handouts tab. We have some great resources and takeaways, lots of cool things that you are going to want to spend a little more time with after we wrap up our session today. I promise this is just the kicking off point and there's a lot more to explore. So if you access that handouts tab, you can grab those resources and take those with you when you head out today. Now, it is not just wonderful content that we are giving away, although there will be lots of that. We also have a $250 Amazon gift card as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. Now, you do need to be here in live attendance at the webinar in order to win, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those T's and C's are, no problem. We actually have them listed for you. So if you go back to the handouts tab that we were just chatting about, scroll down to the bottom, you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. All right, well, one more exciting prize and another little extra incentive for all you lovely question askers out there. We have a $50 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away to the best question asked. Now, here's the drill. We take all the questions that you asked during our session today. We're going to review all of them after we wrap, and then we will reach out to the best question asked during the entire session. So not only does that raise the whole fun and excitement of our conversation when you ask those questions today, but you are also entered to win that best question gift card. So make sure that you get those questions in. All right, well, here's where we're going to do something a little bit different than how we normally kind of kick things off. So normally right here, I would hand things right over to our speakers and we would jump right into the conversation. But our wonderful speakers thought that it might be a good idea for us to take a little bit of a foundational information set to talk about the report that we're really going to be digging into and exploring together today. And this is, again, going to help us get the most out of our time with our speakers so we can ask those questions that we're really wanting to get into. So here's the report that we're exploring. In June of this year, 2024, I know it's almost 2025, that's crazy. IDC conducted a web-based survey of developers. They also talked to development team leaders. They looked at product owners who use DevSecOps, and they were mostly looking across the US and Europe. They were asking these individuals about the time that developers are actually spending on security-related activities in their work, in their day-to-day. So we're talking about when we're looking at DevSecOps, we're talking about the business impact of developer time. We're looking at the tools and the tasks that are actually taking their time, the overall value of their time, and of course, the impact of those security tasks on the flow. And this is a really cool one on developer satisfaction. I want to talk a little bit more about that. I'm really interested to dig into that because obviously that's important, is to feel satisfied with your job. So one of the major takeaways from this report, and what we will really be exploring with our incredible speakers in just a moment here, is that DevSecOps is not free. So the average organization is spending more than $28,000 per developer per year for time spent on security related tasks. That is a huge line item. That is a very big deal. Think about the amount of time that your developers, or maybe you, are all spending on a weekly basis thinking about or working on security within your organizations. I'm guessing it's a lot, and I'm guessing that these hours have been steadily increasing in recent times. So that is really going to have an impact on your organization. And that's what we want to talk about. Let's talk about the impact of that rise in hours spent. Because again, I'm guessing that maybe some of the stats that you're seeing on the screen here are applying directly to you, or maybe you're thinking about your team. Think about those after hours times, right? Think about that. Oh, we all talk about the dreaded 2 a.m. phone call, the constant checking of your messages, never really being able to disconnect or turn off. I used to work in e-commerce, so in that case, I'm very familiar with, I have very vivid memories of in my young years being out at midnight and out with friends, and you're in the corner of the bar or the restaurant and trying to fix something because a banner didn't flip on. And with security, it's that same thing. There's no stop. At least in e-commerce, we kind of knew when a sale was going on. But in security world, anytime this could come up. So it's nonstop. And because things are constantly evolving, constantly changing, those burnout rates are going to be really high. And when I mentioned earlier, what I was really interested in was that sense of satisfaction. You know, if developers don't get to have a sense of purpose, a sense of connection, if you just feel like you're constantly running on a hamster wheel and it's never changing or slowing down, it's hard to connect in to an overall sense of purpose in your job, an overall sense of satisfaction in your job. And that, I think, is hard to measure and going to have a much longer and wider reaching impact on all of us. So really, really important to be thinking about where our developers are spending their time. Speaking of which, this is a little breakdown of where this IDC report found that most developers were spending their time. So we're looking at secret scanning, that came in at number 1, infrastructure as code, software composition analysis, and then static application security testing, all in that order. So this is where we're kind of seeing the vast majority of all of you saying that you're spending your time, or your teams if you're one of the leaders on a development team. All right, so let's take a look here at our how you can learn a little bit more. This report obviously is giving us a lot to think about, and that's what we're going to unpack with our speakers. But if you're interested in learning a little bit more right away, I'm going to leave this QR code up for a little bit longer, and I'm going to put it up again throughout our conversation today and make sure that you all get the opportunity to scan that QR code and learn a little bit more. But I think that's enough of a kind of intro level set. That's a good understanding of the report. And now we're ready to dive in and start getting into our conversation with our speakers. So I would very much like to introduce you to our speakers. Again, I'll put this QR code back up in just a second. But let me bring out our wonderful experts here with you, because I am very excited about this absolute superstar team. Here with us today, we have Moran Ashkenazi, Chief Security Officer at JFrog, Batel Zohar, Developer Advocate at JFrog, and Chen Shiri, Cybersecurity Researcher at Accenture. Moran, Batel, Chen, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm so excited to chat with all of you.
Thank you, Jess.
Yes. Very excited as well.
Well, we have a lot to cover. What I'm going to do is kind of invite you all to start digging into this report and some of the stats that we just went through with the audience. But as we're doing that, just to kick things off, I'm going to quickly put up a poll question for everyone out there in the audience, because this is going to help our speakers get an idea for who's here with us and who we're speaking to in the room, and how we can address some of our conversation and our answers. So if I can ask all of you to click on the poll here, and then I will, in just a few minutes, I'll move over to the results screen. So I'll let all of you know who's here in the audience with us as well. But I'd love to kind of hand things over. Batel, I think you're going to kick us off today.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you again, Jess. As we saw before, the report found that the developers spend 3.6 hours a week dealing with security issues, right? And I will like to hear more about this and what our audience think about that today. And from my experience, I believe it can take much less in our organization. Of course, it depends on the organization, but I really believe that a strong way and policy from the beginning to production will help us to secure our software here. And in some cases, the developers don't even know that they're running something behind the scenes, like Artifactory, for example. I have so many friends that developing and don't even know that behind the scenes they have a binary repository manager that's running there, checking that there is no security vulnerabilities and so on. And after all, they probably sometime will understand that the DevOps guy just runs something behind the scenes, but they're just doing their day-to-day job. And I definitely agree with most of them, right? Who want to work and fix some security issues whenever my job is just to do another task and another task, and I have another sprint that I have to finish so many things and so many tasks. So why I should care about security? Chen, Moran, correct me if I'm wrong. It's your side right now. You're the security guys. Why I should care about it at all?
You want me to start, Chen? To be honest, I don't think that it's a matter of choice today, because it's something so essential that we really need to do as a developers. We're creating a thing. I truly believe that it's like you build it, you run it, you own it. Which means if I'm the developer that, releases software, and I'm dealing with like vulnerability in my code, I'm the only one that can fix it, that can identify the potential of that, and make sure that I will remediate that in the best way that I can. I don't think that additional expert will do that better than I, or it's like someone else's obligations and responsibilities. So fixing vulnerability and invest. You can say spend, but I would recommend call it invest in security. The return of investment is just to avoid cyber breach today, which can cost the company much more. So that's the good side of that. So the investment can definitely make sure that the investment will make sure that it will worth it. If I care about it, it's really a matter of the company and the culture. I can tell you that in JFrog, it's not even a discussion. Everyone care. It's by the way, one of our codex key values in the company is care. So we care about security as well, because we care about equality, and it's aligned. It comes together. I cannot, be even in the position or think about the potential effect of vulnerability in JFrog's software, and how many, thousands of customers depend on us. So if I won't be care about it, so who will? So the return of investment, it's definitely something that we are taking very seriously, and also the productivity that comes without it. And I think we'll talk about it soon.
Yeah, so I really agree with Moran. It has several factors, and what she said about that the developers who wrote the code is really knows the best why it's how it's written, and how usually it can make the code usually in the system easily the most secure. Then involving some other things later in the process, and also one of the things we're talking here about, if it's about money, investment of developers. It has, if you're not, because we see many organizations getting breached because today from small things, and it starts with many developers' mistakes, or companies that want to spend less money on cybersecurity, or in security, or to shift left some security activities, and it's eventually impacts the developer itself. And that's why I think that security should be involved earlier in development. Have less impact on the developer. if it's in a security task in the development or consuming time activities or any, and we can see that even it can impact the morale if because later in the later stages of development or the product, it consumes more and more time than if it's earlier in the process.
I'm gonna interject here because we've got some great answers up from our poll. And so as we're going through our conversation today, it looks like the vast majority, well, not vast, but a strong majority of the folks in the audience here today would identify as security as their position. And then underneath that, we have developers, or our two top are security and developer. And then interestingly enough, we have about 23 that say that they sit right in the middle. And so my guess is that probably means either people are being asked to do things outside of their initial scope, or they're in that kind of communication phase. Anything that, does that seem like the right split to all of you? Is that what you would expect to see here in the audience today?
Yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. And in between, I think that today the developers own the security in most of especially when it comes to the vulnerability in their code. So I think that, yeah, we cannot define, it's not like 100%, either you do security or you are just a developer, but the developer really owns the vulnerability in the code. So they truly see themselves as a leading, position here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, I'm going to put the QR codes back up in case somebody else wants to go back and find those resources. All right, we'll keep going. Sorry, I interrupted our conversation here.
All right, so Moran, is after hours work and the fact that the developers are spending 90% of the work hours security related task in the active of the reactive approach of security. What do you think about that?
I think it's a misery number. I think it's a lot. 90% of work hours. It's extremely high. I have to tell you that one of my key result, like the yearly objective and key result, is just to decrease this number. We're fighting that. One of the key area that we invest is just select the right tools with the developers to make sure that it will be super effective. We do want to spend time on productivity. Make sure that the developers will actually be focused on developing an awesome product. That's their role, and make sure that they will do that with a very good guardrails. So just drive the highway. Don't get into clashes and don't. So as much as effective, we'll select the tooling and reduce the number of tools that drive developers crazy, because you don't want a secret detection, it's over there. You want vulnerability, the potential is in your Jira. You got incident, it's in your Slack. You have Blender task, which is emergency call, you are up to the Zoom. So staying focused, that's something that we're fighting for us as a security body that support the engineering. We really work on it, make sure that we're selecting the right tools, that we're trying to push it as shift left as possible, exactly as Hans mentions, because it's a matter of productivity and we want them to be focused, try to work, and do the best, be very creative of what you're doing and keep us be involved in the hard part of real incident and real critical vulnerability that actually affect the product. So I agree with the numbers. I think it means that those that vote for 90% are super mature companies that really put security out there and say that this is part of the culture. That's how I'm doing super secure software. As a consumer, I would vote for that. I would buy from those companies. But as a developer, I would ask, like, is that effective? For how many years will I stay like 20%, almost 20%, and on fixing vulnerability and secrets? So how we are reducing that? Is that a target from the company perspective, or from the CISO office perspective? Is that a target to reduce this number and help us, a developer in R&D, be a much more productivity and enable the business? So that's the like double-edged sword. I'm playing here the two cards because that's what I'm doing in life, and to be honest, and so we vote for productivity, but not like not without security, for sure. I hope I answer you.
No, that's great. I actually agree with you. But as a developer, I would like to reduce it, of course. I want to spend my time
Yeah,
or invest my time in code, actually.
invested
And I don't
time,
want to just make it, yeah, invest it, it will be better. But I just want to
especially
code, right?
right,
And I
especially if
believe
it's not
today,
like it's a potential and not a real vulnerability, and then that's the key. If it's a
exactly.
potential versus an actual. And that's the prioritization and the effective and efficiency that as a security we are responsible for, to put the right solutions, yeah, and improve that
I
for
I
sure.
agree about that potential risk. It's super important to focus on it for a second, because I saw so many cases that we spend, not specifically in JFrog, when I heard from customers or from friends that are like spending 4 hours for something that is critical, but they don't really have it in their organization, for example, right? We heard about the CVSS, we found it, but it's not exactly implemented in our case. So what we should do in that case, right? How we can find if it's really impacting our environment.
Yeah, you're asking me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
I'll
please.
tell you. I think that, yeah, even if you get like the best research internal team of the, in the world, and they're super
Mhm.
skilled, they can mass, it can happen. They can read the code, they can read the vulnerability, they can read the CVE, understand the potential risk. Sometimes it's very complicated because they need circumstances that it will be affected. So
Mhm.
from productivity wise, you can fail the organization to read the vulnerability, the potential of the vulnerability in a wrong way, and assume that, yeah, that's a potential, we have to fix it, and recommend the R&D to fix the vulnerability, and they can spend, you said 4 hours, I would say
Much
30
more. Yeah.
days. They can spend days, because sometimes, especially when it comes to third-party packages and
Mhm.
binaries that JFrog is responsible for, they like change package, just it's a huge change, and behind it there are
Mhm.
days that developers need to
Yeah.
invest or spend. So that's the productivity, that's the bad side, and like fail with the right like fail open, let's call it, right? Fix something that
Mhm.
you shouldn't fix, productivity. And the other hand, that the researcher maybe is like not mature enough, not expert enough from your team, that can actually miss the potential of vulnerability and mistakenly assume that it's not vulnerable, and close
Mhm.
the case and say, I recommend not to fix it because it's not vulnerable. So, and that can actually, and then you can just open the door to the attackers, and to get in and try to penetrate your environment. So both actually said to us, you need something else,
Mhm.
non-human, that will do
Yeah.
that. We need a better software that will dive in deeply into the code, into the environment variables, analyze better, create a fuzzing, smart, sophisticated engine that will identify the vulnerability, the potential, and will give you a very clear answer, binary answer, yes or no, affected or not affected, something that is very clear, supported by evidence, with a very strong tool. And so avoiding like both, directions of false positive and true negative that will put you in a bad case no matter what. So we're using in JFrog, where we call ourselves customer zero, Yeah, it means like, sorry for the language, like dog fooding, how we're doing frogs on frogs, or we're drinking our own champagne and use our own product. We're using JFrog Advanced Security with an amazing engine that really clarify and crystallize the answer. So once we have like new vulnerability, we all jump in. We get like alerting system, very simple and clear. The blender jump in with a champion and can see the vulnerability and the tool's assessment if it's effective or not. And then we know how to prioritize better and find the productivity. And it's amazing. Like, developers crazy about it because it can save us. It saves them a lot of time. So that's what we're doing in JFrog. And I can tell you that without connecting the dog with something very, sophisticated product, it's just it's a crazy vulnerability that you need to be prioritized manually. It's mission impossible.
So Chen, maybe you can give us your angle about it. What do you think? Is it possible to get a tool that provides you if it's like implemented in an organization or not, like false positive or not, something which is like a binary yes or no?
To get a tool that sounds like a binary, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so sure. So I'm saying, like, do you think that we can have a tool that's telling us what is the exact vulnerability that we have inside our organization, and if it's really implemented in our organization or not? Like, we have something like that today, or do you think it could be in the future?
Yeah, I think that we have a tool like this. We have many, but it's not just one tool. I think it's there need to be some kind of process in the organization to implement for to raise the effectiveness of detecting vulnerabilities before they exist in the runtime, like a proactive approach. I think most of the approaches right now is we can see a lot of reactive approaches, which is mean reactive are come like it's coming like as an afterthought. Security comes, and I think by embedding practices like static application security testing, or pre-commit hooks, or integrating plugging to the IDEs. If it's can give a few examples like Sneak and others. We have a lot on the market that's leveraging alerts and detecting vulnerabilities while development and before the product is being published or the code in production. It's really effective. And as I said, and it also can come inside of CI/CD pipelines, which catches issue earlier, and also can eliminate downstream or delays where it's implemented.
Sounds great.
Well, Batel, if I can interrupt you, we have a question from the audience that I'd like to bring in here. And the question is about manual security reviews and context switching, which I think fits in really well here. And we've talked a lot about productivity. And this question, I think, is going to feed into that. So in our team, we routinely flag developers are routinely flagging, issues with security reviews and context switching, especially when we're looking at DevX as a detriment to productivity. Can I ask you guys to help our audience out a little bit with that? What would you add to that?
So I think that it really context switching constantly between coding and tasks can lead to mistakes and from the development perspective. And it's the most biggest significant barrier for productivity. For example, if someone is switching from an editor to a security scanner, it disrupts the flow in itself. And as I said, I think that while developing, to use some kind of products to scan automatically the code before it's being deployed, while developing the product, there are many tools that utilize AI today to do it, or to suggest to do code reviews while development and to suggest better code. And it can be it also reflects security, and this is one way. And there are, so the first, I think, a strategy need to be implemented to target this, to minimize the context switching. If it's, as I said, to integrate tooling inside the IDE, automated alerts, and to prioritize addressing vulnerabilities. It can be done today with CMA. Implementation of DevSecOps into the development. If it's by containers, to automatically check the code, to deploy open source tools that can be implemented very easily today, especially with OWASP and many other organizations and big companies even, that we see that publishing the open source tools, and all these tools are well documented. Anyone can customize them, according to the organization needs, and deploy them very easily. And in general, to implement shift left security practices, to incorporate security checks early in the development process, and to detect those vulnerabilities before they can become disruptive. I think it will reduce the number of the need for context switching later. And,
I totally agree with you. I can add to that. I think that to say like add as much product as you can, like open source and everything, and put it on the shift left, I think it's a great, but it's actually failed in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because I have like at least 25 years of experience trying to push it. When you're not connecting the dots and put so many different tools, and then each and one of them like disrupt you to a different area, and you have so many duplication of the same problem. You'll see secret here, secret in the pre-commit hook before you put the code onto the master. You'll see that on the failed build. You'll see that on the release that has been destroyed. And you'll see that from the beginning all over the idea of everyone's, because not necessarily it's the developer. It's like his environment. It's not his own environment. It's like not work in a capsule, right? Is work on a Teams, and that's everyone's code. So everyone will see the secret over there. Who will check it? So in that case, I think it's harm the productivity, the fact that we're using so many open source that are lack of context. Sometimes there is a knowledge that is like developed in the organization. For example, you can see that vulnerability that it looks like an open source. When it's lack of context, it will show you that it's vulnerable. You have to fix it, but because you check it, you did a research, and you know for sure that you're not impacted by that. So you don't want to disrupt the developers again and again. They will continue using that. The open source, a lack of the context and other functions that you're never gonna get when you have your best commercial product that change the history, save the history, save the justification, give it back to the developer, reduce the noise, they reduce the duplication, doing deduplication of Jira, the entire operation ecosystem behind just find the vulnerability all over. We don't have, for security matters, I will tell you, we don't have problem of visibility of vulnerabilities. It's there. We're scanning Terraform, we're scanning the cloud, we're scanning the source code, the packages, the binaries, the secrets. We're scanning everywhere. That's not anything. It's not a problem. The problem is about operating right and make sure that the developer won't have the context switching that reduce the productivity. And that's back to the reason of why we're here, and the research that said that it's like 90% of the time, because it's not something that is developed. And you said correctly that you think that the AI will change that. I truly believe in that as well. I think that LLMs, the next generation, and I can tell you that in JFrog we're working on it super strong, that you're going to see the next generation of those solution, an holistic solution that will have that and will learn from the environment, and the justification will reduce it from the left, from the developer. Anyone need to do the context switching, get from the Cloudinary, from the Jira ticket, from the operation, from the Zoom, from the Slack, from the tasks in his sprint out of nowhere. He will be very focused, be developed, see everything in the IDE plugin. And also one more comment related to the IDE plugin. It's really bind with user experience.
Yeah.
I can share with you over 15 different products that plug into the IDE and developer disagree to install it. And you got 10 seconds of developers to vote against IDE plugin and will never agree to install it again. They're very opinionated in related to their environment. It's their environment. It needs to be with an amazing user experience, not clash there and put underline and red line all over. It's disruptive as well. It needs to be clean. It needs to be sophisticated and very effective. Otherwise, they will vote against it. And as much as we want to push it to the developer in their face, in their desktop, it needs to be accurate and focused. And that's my take with a lot of experience from pushing to the left. It must be a very effective product that will understand user experience. That's the key to the shift left.
Yeah, I'm agree with you with many things. I'm not saying that it's enough. I think it really depends on the organization, the company, the side of the company, how the process of the development is going in the organization. I think I see it as a second layer. In generally, even if we take it one shift left, there need to be some kind of security strategy and research for potential issues while planning the environment, before even getting into implementing in the IDE or starting even the development. And this is why we also can see even in big companies, from publicly available information even, or other things, we can, and from my experience, see threat modeling is becoming more and more popular, and tools using platforms like Risk, because modeling and planning, if it's and involve the whole development, implementing methodologies like SSDLC, secure software development, to include the security in all the development, and from very early stages.
From the design stage. 100%.
And it will really well development, and it will not need so many open source tools, and also this and this. It just will need usually just one or two that are good, but it's really for depends on the situation. Like for domain of the open source tool, because we have also vulnerability scanners and packages, and as you said,
But then we're getting back to the medical fight of developer versus security, right? Because security engineer probably will say that we need more. We need to scan this, and this one too. And I would say, right, maybe one or two product will be enough in that case. So when it's enough.
But you got the very good visibility and coverage, that you know that first of all you see everything, and you don't have like blind spot, and then you get like good enough product that are effective and you can work with it, not just identify. In my opinion, identification means fix, not less. So like put the right product that will support this approach.
And I think it also depends on the metric of the false positive, to have some kind of metric. See how many false positive alerts findings you have. It can be integrated using, it can be checked using products or automated procedures, and depends on how well the company or the users can integrate each open source tools or any other tool that they're implementing. It also affects the false positives. So it needs to be considered. Also here we have some kind of tradability how much effort you're investing on configuring the product itself to how much false positive you can deal with. And it really depends.
Well, if it's okay for me, I'm going to jump in because I have another poll question for the audience here. And I have a follow-up question for all of you that I'm hoping you can help us explore a little bit. So first of all, what we want to know from the audience is, what is the average time that it takes you to secure your software? We've talked a lot about timing today. So the options here, we've got 1 day, 3 days, 1 week. What do you think? And again, we're not going to publish any company names next to this, so don't worry about sharing any private information here. But just let us know. And in a second here, I will move over to the results. As we're kind of doing that, I'm wondering, I'd love to pull in another piece here that we were talking about in the IDC report. That report was identifying that developers are spending about 6 hours per week on sourcing, selecting, and updating those open source packages. So wondering if I can get you guys to help understand that a little bit more. Moran, I think I'll kick that to you if that's all right. I'm gonna move over to the results here. And actually, Moran, as we switch into understanding that, maybe you can tell us, is that about what you'd expect to see with 1 week being the dominant response for average time?
No, not at all. I think I would expect that, because I think that one of the problems that we cannot measure that. We're lack of visibility and how much time we spend. Not many companies are really aware of the spend. I think that the executive level they do, because they have the numbers. It's really sometimes in some companies it's even compete the innovation. Especially when you think about 19%, it's like innovation in most of the companies. It's triggered the same capacity. So I think that the top level of R&D are super aware of the capacity that they're spending, but I'm not sure that the developer can have like the full perspective. Maybe for his own, like from every average time, like I can be involved in once in a month in a situation, but if I have like hundreds of R&Ds, so give the full visibility and understand like how much time we as an organization spend for it. I think we're lack of it's also one of the problem with the security tool. We're not reflecting the investment that it takes, and that's the reason for the data. So that's my opinion.
Well, I'd love to get everyone's feedback, and I do want to hear a little bit about maybe where you have all seen organizations working maybe a little bit more effectively with updating open source packages, as we were just kind of chatting about. We saw in that report. I do want to flag that we've got about 10 minutes left. I don't know how the time has flown by so quickly, so maybe we can breeze through that, and then I want to get into some solutions, and so I'll hand things back on over to you. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about that.
So, Chen, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I think that many companies have this problem with the open source packages, and they are having real issues with this topic, and we can see it on recent events on the world with breaches due to using updates on packages. And it's in overall managing open source dependencies is a common challenge, and it's slowed by generally it's slowed by the manual reviews, outdated libraries, the lack of visibility on transitive dependencies. Even if it's some softwares are using some dependencies, even as some kind of small packages that are using other small packages, and that's if it's not being detected, it can cause to expose to a supply chain attack. And you see many organizations that sometimes allow developers to pull directly from external repositories without any verification.
Which is crazy.
So,
It's
Which
yeah,
is
it's
absolutely
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think, yeah, at least making an internal repository bank that was scanned with some kind of a tool, or as well for container images and other
Mhm.
things that are used by the DevOps teams. And to streamline this, in overall, teams can adopt curated repositories tools like Artifactory or Nexus or other things, which can enforce policies and allows specifically some packages that were tested and or scanned, and automating these dependency updates really reduces vulnerabilities, and it causes everything to be patched very quickly. And as I said, like integrating security checks and for transitive dependencies and into CI/CD pipelines, it really
Mhm.
ensures that the builds and all those things can be without manual intervention today.
That's
So let me
right.
add a
And
small thing about that. Just imagine that we have a product that can block the developers from even downloading something which is malicious, right? It basically will connect to your IDE. And even if you think about any open source tool or any open source dependencies that you want to download, but it contains something which is malicious, you can't even download it as part of your IDE,
from the
right? If we're
begin with,
talking
yeah.
yeah, exactly. You don't even be able to begin with. It's the whole idea of shift left. It's called curation. I really recommend you to check it out later. But I think it can save you so much time of fixing other stuff and fixing vulnerabilities because you're not even exposed to it, right? You are getting the information as a developer. We're telling you that the following dependency contains this and this. You don't need to, you can download this one, but we are offering you another version. So as a developer, cool, I'll just download something newer, something else, and see what will be better in that case and why it contains any security vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's one of the effective features that we've got. So, but I just want to double click on the managed packages. It's all start with visibility. I will continue to say that I think for the rest of my life with security. When you have like single source of truth and you know that all your packages are managed on the same place, then we can get first of all you get visibility and you can control, and then you can enforce policy exactly like you've said, Chen. So get like your artifact managers, make sure that all the packages downloaded not directly from the internet like crazy place that is not managed. You cannot control it. You cannot support the R&D this way. You just absolutely can't, because it's like the wild west, and it's crazy, especially after Log4j of the world. We all been there, we've been there, done this. We don't want to be in that situation again, and we know with 100% that it comes later on with the zip slip, with so many critical vulnerabilities out there, that it will continue. And we've got at least one potential every month like that. Crazy vulnerability that push us to streamline a very strong policy and also practices in place. So once you get the right visibility, you know exactly what you need to fix, and then you can just make sure that you'll upgrade, you'll fix, you'll get the full remediation process. So it's aligned together. You have to manage the packages and the binary in a single place, and then enforce policies on it. One of the features that curate it. Don't even, if it's like everything managed by the manual, the managed artifacts, make sure that it won't apply. The policy will be push all the malicious packages and critical vulnerabilities away. I won't accept downloaded it. So why need to fix it otherwise? At the rest of the release management, and fail the build and try to test it again. That's the cost. That's how it takes. That's how much it takes. So full visibility, single source of truths, and then just plug in security policy on top of it. It goes together. That's the DevSecOps. That's what it means. That's exactly what it is. That's the connection between DevOps and security. You're managing the packages. I got the full visibility. Now I can help and control it and align with a very good practices and policies in place.
Yeah.
Team, we have about 5 minutes left, which is devastating because I was just saying I could listen to you guys talk all day. This is the most, and I have to say I really love the way that all of you are coming from slightly different perspectives and different experiences, and then finding how those connect. Because I think this is you're a living example of what organizations are trying to do to create these conversations and break down silos. So I'm loving this on every level. But I'm wondering if maybe we could kind of shift in and wrap things up with sort of our solutions chat. And really in particular, we've gotten a couple of questions about automations. I know you guys have talked about that a little bit. Can we kind of bring in automations and how that's affecting the conversation as well?
Sure. All right. So
with our final 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So of course, everybody loves automation, right? Who would like to do the same process again and again? And we are humans, and humans make mistakes, right? With all the respect, we're great, but we're usually will do a mistake if we're running the same thing again and again. I see here a significant impact, improving security enablement without corporation productivity. All right. So of course, we would like to have a small ChatGPT that will tell us if it's a false positive or not. But sometimes it depends on the organization itself. And Moran, correct me and telling me probably that it have to be checked sometime by a human, right? We need to understand that the dev and the security have to work together in order to get the most effective solution in that case. Because sometimes those automation can be failing too. And from your experience, you probably saw so many open source or so many tools actually that's failing of the detection, right?
Yeah, 100%. So when it comes to, critical potential, we always involve like an expert. And I think that one of the things that I love about the shared responsibility model that we implement in JFrog is to add another layer, like second layer of defend. We're using and build an amazing organization that support R&D and us as well. They're the security champions, and it's not just a buzzer. They're really there, shoulder to shoulder, when it comes to a real analysis. So when a critical security vulnerability come up, and it happens a lot, exactly like Jess said, start with the conversation with the weekends. It's always in security. It's always over weekends, over holidays. That's our favorite time, I think, to avoid family's dinner. So when it comes to that, you'll see the dev advocate or the security champion that jump into the channel with our expert that will give it additional X-ray, that will scan it, that will see the source code, that will try to analysis manually and give it just a double check to make sure that we are good to go. We know exactly how to put the spotlight and focus on the right area, how much time to fix it, what to fix exactly, and how to fix it. And in circumstances, it's definitely something that we are doing. And I think that those collaborations teach and educate many developers a lot, because we're doing retrospective after those incidents. We're involving and educating the R&D, everyone aware of it. They learn from it, and they truly want to fix it from the beginning. They truly want to know and be much more familiar with the issues, and not just be an incident case. So, yeah.
But do you believe that one day you will trust any tool to do it automatically? Like,
I will tell you what I think about it.
Yeah.
I will ask you the question. You know that
to me.
in 99.9% you're flying from country to country, and it's automatically flight, right? It's automatic flight. Do you agree to take off the pilot from the airplane? That's the question.
Yeah.
That's the question that I'm asking myself. Never, right? Because in critical times, he needs to drive manually. And that's the answer. So that's my point of view. I think we're far from there, especially when LLMs, new attacks will come up and you're going to see disruption with the data. So it's always like verified what you see. It's an alien, in my opinion. Sometimes I don't know what he ate, how he desired, and I want to. It's a great co-pilot. It is co-pilot, not a pilot. So think about it when you like give a full automation. It's great for the most of the circumstances, but the critical one still need us. Sorry, guys, but we're still there. We're still here to support you. Achen.
What do you think about it, Chen? Can we trust it one day?
Yeah, I believe that we can use it to automate repetitive tasks and time-consuming. That we know that the method of how to test it, and instead of doing some things that we can do automatically somehow, to do it manually again and again and again, to have something that do it automatically or as a second layer of testing or verification, I think it can significantly enhance the productivity and of the developers to focus more on core development, and additionally to help the organization, to assist them to really focus on the important things, important vulnerabilities, or to find things that are harder to detect or even more significant. These automated tools, I think it can make a lot of difference, but they can also make a lot of false positives. So this is why it's really important to know how to combine them, what to combine, and not always a lot of tools will make the most significant difference. It's need to be implemented with the right thinking and in according to the needs. Yeah.
Well, as much as I hate to say, that might have to be our final thought of this conversation. And clearly there's so much more to dig in. I feel like we're really just scratching the surface on some of these topics. And I would love this. You know what this feels like when you sit around at the lunch table with a bunch of friends and they're all in the same field and you just get to hear them like go. I felt like I was just sitting here listening to a bunch of friends talk through some really fascinating topics today. And I know the audience is feeling the same way. We did get a lot of questions that we're not going to have time to get to today. We snuck in a few of the questions along the way, I know, and I got a few answers out to people, but I do want to assure anyone that asked a question that we didn't get to, you will get responses back. We're going to send everything over to JFrog, so you'll get some answers back. So if you still have a question that you haven't gotten into the console yet, get it in now, and we'll make sure that you get those answers back. Before I let you all go, though, Moran, can I ask you to tell us a little bit, if somebody wanted to learn more about JFrog, they want to jump in right away, what would you recommend as that first step?
The first step, I think, is just I truly believe in the try it, open a trial, download it. You don't need to download, just need to log in and experience that. Yeah, it's just experience that. Try it, play with it. I think my best tip is do that together. Developer, DevOps, and security come together to the environment. Jump in, open your own trial, and try to play with it. Understand the power of manage the binary and enforce security together. It's not separated solution. It's not like 10 different solutions from all the way from the shift left and the plugin and the binary and the secret detection, and they curate the malicious packages and then scan it all over and all the phases of the builds, and then releases to the runtime and identify where are your real incident are. So all the way in a single platform, I think just play with that, understand the power of it together. I think that's the best tip that I would do to my colleagues, CISOs, come with the developers, the DevOps together, make them to do the choice and join them. It's just join the party. You not necessarily need to be the one that, lead that independently. Just come together, because I think that the solution is there. Just be there with them.
Well,
just
that is a
one.
fantastic note to end on. Hen and Batel, sorry, I can extend a minute or two. Did you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add something small about Moran, what she said, and it's great. I'm totally agree that we need a POC and ask questions, right? Everybody love to say that, but really ask questions. We are here for you. Each and every one of us would love to help, and our great support and other people from the community would love to show you their way and how it's working. So sorry, Jess.
No, I love it. Hen, any final thoughts from you joining us from outer space or wherever your background is?
Yeah, so as Moran said, I think the many market-changing products right now, almost in every domain or every type of application, if it's containers for scanning Artifactory, and I really recommend people here to check them and to see what can help. What are the locations in their development that have more false positives or need more attention to some to reduce to have more scanning and to implement them accordingly.
Well, I love that, and I was just messaging. We've got a couple of high fives and shout outs coming into the chat here, which is pretty exciting. And I see, yeah, we're gonna get some. We've got some requests for follow ups already, so we're gonna get those in. You guys have fans. You've won over the entire audience, and myself as well. I think, like I said, really lots more to unpack here, but we'll leave the conversation and we'll invite you all back to chat with us again in the future, and hopefully we'll get to dig in even further. Until then, I want to thank all of you for joining us and for making this such an interesting day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jess. It's been a wonderful discussion. And thank you, my colleagues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right. And to all of you that are asking some great questions, again, keep those coming in. If you're looking to learn a little bit more right away, make sure that you scan the QR codes. You can also find those links. Oh, wait, I'm reversed. Scan the QR codes. And you can also head over to the handouts tab. There's some great handouts there, including the report that we were basing the conversation on today. So if you visit that report, you can get all of the information that you need and kind of follow up. And then you'll get this recording on demand, so you can actually follow up on demand. I'm trying to get here before we wrap up. I just want to get a few links over to, we had some requests to reach out to our speakers. So I want to make sure that I get that to all of you if you're looking to follow up with our wonderful speakers here. So give me 2 seconds. Let me just make sure I get that pushed out to all of you so that you can follow up and get the information that you need. All right, so I'm going to post that out to everybody here. If you are looking to get to know our speakers, there is your contact info. And you can follow up and ask some questions, because I know there was a lot of questions that we didn't get to, and these are such interesting topics. There's so much more to explore here, isn't there? So contact info is in the questions tab there for you. QR codes on the screen, handouts linked in the handouts tab. So you guys have a lot of homework to do. While you're doing all of that, let me go ahead and give away a prize. We have a $250 Amazon gift card that is going to someone who is here live and present at the webinar, and of course, a little bit lucky, right? All right, our special winner today of a $250 Amazon gift card is Morgan King from Utah. Morgan King from Utah. Congratulations to you, Morgan. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up the webinar. And I also want you all to stay tuned for that best question gift card. We're going to review all the questions asked after we wrap, so you will hear back from us on that as well. All right, well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank JFrog for making this entire webinar possible, especially to our wonderful speakers here with us today, Moran, Batel, and Chen. You have all given us so much to think about. You have led us through a truly fascinating conversation. Like I said, I felt like I was just sitting around with friends and getting to listen in on all the things that make you excited, and really seeing how these conversations unfold across multiple levels of an organization was pretty cool to be a part of today. So I hope you're all feeling the same, which of course brings me to my biggest thank you. My biggest high five, as always, is going to go to everyone here in the audience with us today for taking time out of their day. We know that these problem points, the biggest problem is time, right? That's what we're here to talk about today, is feeling a lack of satisfaction, feeling a sense of disconnect, and a lot of that coming out of feeling overstretched and short on time, having so much time go into things that maybe aren't feeling like they're hitting the productivity that you need to, and that you're just kind of running around on that hamster wheel. And so you all took time today to come out and to be a part of this conversation, to learn how you can start to streamline, how you can automate, how you can increase that visibility, and most importantly, increase that security without losing productivity and efficiency. And all of that was starting with you. Was starting with all of you. So I want to send a big thank you to all of you for joining in, for coming to be a part of our conversation today. I hope that I'll get to see you all again soon. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.